1 week ago, we were completely taken by surprise when a mystery exotic all the way from back in Rise of Iron in Destiny 1 suddenly became available in Destiny 2. It boasts power, utility across all aspects of the PvE and PvP landscape, and unique aesthetics that will almost surely get it nerfed sometime in the future. What's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new kinetic exotic pulse rifle, the Outbreak Perfected, as well as its exotic catalyst, which we just got completed this week. Let's go ahead and dive on into it. Now, the Outbreak is the reward for completing the 0-hour questline, starting with the Fallen Transponder in the rig on Titan. This takes you through a quick hunt for items in lost sectors and ultimately back to the old tower to prevent a heist of the very SIVA-fueled weapon you have all come to wield. We've got a full guide video up for how to get this gun, as well as how to find and complete the hidden quest for the Outbreak's catalyst right here on the channel. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll leave a link to all of that in the description box below. For now, let's get on to the Outbreak Perfected itself. Now, stat-wise, this gun is a little bit deceptive, or rather, its stat page is a little bit deceptive. It's in the 450 RPM tier of pulses, so think something like the Nightshade pulse rifle from the Vanguard. But its other stats are a little more questionable. In particular, this weapon's stability stat feels much higher than what you're seeing here, and it's something you'll definitely notice while playing with the Outbreak. This thing's virtually a laser beam. This gun is actually so stable that some believe there actually may be a bit of a hidden perk at play here. In particular, our old buddy Cool Guy, who I'm sure you all know by now, has stated that he thinks something akin to the old Rodeo perk, or more likely, the Persistence perk from Destiny 1 may be working on the Outbreak. And after playing with this thing for over a week, I'm actually pretty inclined to agree with him. The round burst grouping for the Outbreak starts out with a fairly vertical leftward push. Then, upon rapid follow-up shots, seemingly recenters into a much tighter grouping, allowing for easy recoil and target control for the Outbreak Perfected. Basically here, the faster you push out shots, the more accurate the weapon seems to get, which mixed with the Outbreak's great aim assist and range makes it an absolute joy of a weapon to shoot. Seriously, managing crit shots with this thing is actually a breeze, which is a good thing since its exotic abilities will have you doing quite a bit of crit shotting in the future. So, what do you say we move on to talking about that? Alright, first up, we've got the Corruption Spreads. This weapon creates SIVA nanite swarms on rapid hits and precision kills. This is definitely going to be the bread and butter of the Outbreak Perfected. Precision kills generate about 9 nanites that will swarm over nearby enemies and last for about 10 seconds, damaging them on impact and applying a debuff that causes them to take more damage from Outbreak Perfected itself. Now, the range on these nanites seems to be anywhere from about 8 to 9 meters in game, but can be a little inconsistent with their targeting. Generally speaking, the closer the target, the more nanites will chase him. And the further out, well, the harder a time you're going to have trying to get all of those nanites to attach to one target. The damage that these nanites put out is actually pretty impressive as well, allowing for really easy ad control when dealing with trash mobs like thralls and dregs. And once you start chaining precision kills off of targets, you can generate a ton of nanites really quickly. Outside of precision kills, landing 4 consecutive bursts on enemies will also spawn nanites that track targets. In PvE, this number seems to fluctuate anywhere between about 1 to 3 nanites per 4 bursts, while in PvP, the number always seemed to be about 3 nanites at spawn for me. Either way, this ability has a ton of usage, whether it be the impact damage it lands on targets or the latent damage buff you get with Outbreak thanks to its next perk, Parasitism. This weapon does more damage to enemies based on the number of SIVA nanites attached to them. So basically, once you've attached nanites to a target, your Outbreak will start to do more and more damage to those affected enemies, while of course also generating more enemies to attach to that target. You can slowly build up damage by continuously shooting larger targets, but believe me, the real goal here is to kill smaller targets with precision blows to spawn a ton of nanites, and then get those to attach to major targets for much faster damage growth. Remember, the more nanites attached to a target, the more damage Outbreak Perfected does. And believe me, these damage bonuses are massive, allowing in excess of 300% damage gains against enemies. And I'm sure in plenty of the scenarios out there, your damage bonuses can get even higher. It all depends on how many nanites you can attach to targets. And by the way, it doesn't end here. Nanites spawned by your allies with Outbreak also boost your Outbreak's damage as well. Meaning if you're running with a full team of Outbreak Perfecteds, your damage shoots straight through the roof. It works almost kind of like a souped up Rat King. Now, this works really well against high health targets like raid bosses or really anything surrounded by lower level enemies. Just get a few precision kills spawning 9 nanites a pop and then watch as your damage shoots through the roof when those nanites attach themselves to your real target. This thing has so much utility in PvE, and it's already resulted in plenty of showcases against raid bosses like Insurrection Prime, where Outbreak can quickly start out-damaging heavies and other high-powered exotics. In short, this is definitely something you'll want to get your hands on if you haven't already. And believe you me, it gets even better when you finally finish the catalyst attached to it. The Outbreak's Masterwork catalyst reads like this: increases nanite damage. Enemies that die with nanites attached to them generate additional nanites. So basically, the impact damage caused by the nanites is increased, and now any enemies killed with nanites attached will spawn even more of the little buggers. Let's break this down. In PvE, the impact damage of the nanite swarm gets around a 25% damage boost with this catalyst, and that is pretty hefty. These swarms were already dealing decent damage before the catalyst ability, but afterwards, they become capable of clearing entire mobs pretty easily. And now, of course, when enemies are defeated with those nanites attached, they can spawn anywhere from about 1 to 4 additional nanites to seek targets as well. Meaning a precision kill can now generate a total of 13 nanites per kill, which makes the damage ramping against high health enemies even more devastating. This is an absolutely worthwhile catalyst, as it benefits basic ad clearing with the extra impact damage, while also boosting the exotic trait of debuffing enemies against the Outbreak Perfected itself, taking the abilities that work so well and making them work even better. The nanites themselves can even be used in unconventional ways. Say you're going up against a shielded enemy or an enemy that's currently immune to damage. Maybe you're in an encounter where you have to pull off some mechanics to break a shield. You can actually start shooting that immune target, and even though they're currently immune to damage, nanites are still gonna attach to that target, meaning you can prime them for big damage when your DPS phase begins. And when you take all of this together and you mix it in with the fact that this gun is also rocking Outlaw for a greatly increased reload speed when you land precision kills, this gun really does cover a ton of options. And believe me, that goes for both PvE and PvP. In the Crucible, Outbreak Perfected is a super solid option, providing great performance at mid-range and serving as perhaps the most consistent pulse rifle in the game. Outbreak does about 25 to the head, 16 to the body at optimal range, with damage increases based on the number of nanites you can attach to your target. Nanites in PvP stay attached for about 6 seconds and can ramp your damage up to a maximum of 44 per crit when you have at least 5 nanites attached to targets, resulting in fairly quick kill times in PvP. This, however, is fairly rare, as you won't be seeing much use from the Outbreak's exotic abilities here due to the precision kill requirement, the overall shorter time span of the nanites, and their less than reliable tracking in high motion activities like PvP. You can nail precision kills really easily with the Outbreak and Crucible, but oftentimes Guardians are moving way too quickly to really be affected by the nanites since they have such a short tracking range. And of course, hit detection with them in PvP also seems to be a little out of whack. Ultimately, you'll find that you're using Outbreak in PvP less for its exotic ability and more for its great overall performance. But that doesn't mean the exotic traits aren't worthwhile in PvP. The nanites you spawn from the rapid hits and precision kills deal about 10 damage per impact normally. And of course, this is bumped up to 13 damage with the completed catalyst. This is actually really powerful, since you can now create a max of 13 nanites via a single precision kill. So you can deal an extra 169 total damage with just the nanites alone, which believe me is fantastic against a single target or for weakening enemies who are sitting a little bit too close together in like that 9-meter range. This is the real benefit of the Catalyst in PvP, and it mixes really well with stuff like the One-Eyed Mask damage buff for Titans, and especially the Chromatic Fire Warlock chest piece, which essentially grants the Outbreak a form of the Dragonfly ability. Seriously, if you can land a precision kill while somebody's standing next to somebody else, you give yourself a major leg up in cleaning up that second or even third target. And like I mentioned before, you mix that in with this weapon's fantastic stability, its decent range, its great aim assist to the fact where you can basically aim for the chest and the recoil from it is just going to get you a precision hit all the time. You get yourself a really solid pulse rifle option in PvP. Overall, Outbreak Perfected is definitely a great PvP option, but you will notice that its biggest weakness comes in the form of its range. Stuff like the Ace of Spades and Not Forgotten are going to give you a major hassle outside of mid-range, especially on PC. And pulses like Go Figure and Blast Furnace will outrange the Outbreak all day long. Additionally, while the Outbreak handles incoming flinch pretty well, it's interesting to note that it does not cause your targets to flinch much at all. Seriously, in terms of flinch, it's like the thing shoots marshmallows, which will, of course, contribute to you being outshot at range by heavy hitters. But still, those detriments aside, you'll be hard-pressed to find a primary kinetic weapon that's as solid of a choice as the Outbreak Perfected. Ultimately, the Outbreak is a weapon that provides options that work for both PvE and PvP. In PvP, the Outbreak is perhaps the most well-rounded pulse rifle in the game, granting amazing stability and aim assist, while its nanites deal great damage when attaching themselves to enemies. In PvE, its utility can be seen when clearing entire waves of adds with swarms of nanites that then create more nanites and grant you major damage boosts to yellow bar enemies and bosses. This is an exotic that is well worth the chase, and I encourage every Guardian to work towards unlocking and then masterworking the Outbreak Perfected. You'll definitely be glad you did. But alright Guardians, those are my thoughts on the Outbreak Perfected exotic pulse rifle. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this review, please drop a like and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. As for me, well, you know what I'll be doing. Generating more nanite nonsense with the Outbreak Perfected. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.